Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is April 17th, 2024, and today we're going to discuss the aftermath of Barcelona's elimination at the hands of PSG. Also, there's the news that Rafa Marquez is currently gaining grounds in the race to replace Xavi Hernandez. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. My name is Mo, and this is the Barca News live podcast where not only do I get to share Barcelona news with you, but I also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments out loud, answering any questions, and getting a discussion going. I haven't said all that. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment. All of this helps this channel continue to grow. Also, if you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure you hit the Kickback. And if you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure you hit the Bet Us. Both links for Kickback and Bet Us are in the description. If you click on them, not only would you be helping me and the channel, but you would also be helping yourself because you do get access to some pretty cool offers and deals. Now, anyways, let's dive right into the news because yesterday, as we already know, Barcelona were eliminated from the quarterfinals of the Champions League at the hands of PSG, where the team completely fell apart after that red card that Ronald Araujo received around the 30th minute. And of course, today we are going to be talking about the aftermath of that defeat. We started with Xavi Hernandez's statements and what he said as soon as the match ended. Now, this is what the Barcelona coach had to say. And I will take my logo off so you guys can see it better. But Xavi said, I told the referee that he was very poor. It was a disaster. It doesn't matter how much we talk. The fact is that the red card ruined the match. I don't like to talk about referees, but we have to say it. We can't be silent. It's a real shame. The referee ruined all of work this season. I wanted to play 11 versus 11 fairly. So Xavi Hernandez pretty much blaming the whole thing on the referee, saying that the referee, was unfair, that the red card cost us, that he wanted to play fairly, that the referee ruined the team's work. Even though I do agree that the red card did end up, of course, costing us a lot. It's pretty much cost us the qualification to the semifinals. In my opinion, I don't think the red card was the incorrect decision. When you look at it, it was clear. Ronald Araujo fouled Barcola. He was the last man, and according to the rules, it's a direct red card. But nonetheless, Xavi sees it another way. He thinks that it's the referee's fault for yesterday's elimination. And this is something I've talked about a lot in this channel. And that's when you don't want to look inward, when you don't want to be self-critical, when you don't want to analyze yourself, your mistakes, you're never going to learn. You are never going to grow if you cannot admit that there's something wrong, try to figure out what that something wrong is, try to come up with a solution and try to implement it. If we're always going to look for external excuses, it was the referee, it was the injuries, etc., then we are never going to get better. And this is a constant problem that I've seen with Xavi Hernandez and his press conferences. I've talked about this a lot in the past, and I can't believe that I'm still having to talk about it because it doesn't seem to learn. And it seems like a lot of his supporters are learning from him because the same I've seen here in the channel with people just coming up with excuses and excuses and excuses to just justify what happened, not just yesterday, the entire season. And I prefer that my team, my club, would look inward to try to figure out what's going on, to try to come up with a solution, to try to implement that solution, because I think that's what would be beneficial for the club. That's what would be beneficial for the team. That's how the team is going to grow. That's how the team is going to learn from its mistakes. That's how the team is going to be better. But apparently, the easier thing to do these days is just to blame it on an excuse and done, right? Because an excuse is a lot easier. It takes a lot less time. Look, it was a red card. Done. That took 10 seconds, right? But being self-critical, being self-analytical, evaluating the situation, that's a lot of hard work. That takes weeks, maybe even months to try to look inward, to try to figure out what's going on, what's the problem, how can we fix it, try different solutions, see what works, see what doesn't work. That takes work. So I guess it's just easier to come up with excuses, and that's exactly what Xavi Hernandez said. Now, again, I did not think that red card was an incorrect one. It doesn't seem that I'm the only one to think that. Ilkay Gundogan thought the same, and this is what the Barcelona captain without an armband had to say. Now, Gundogan said disappointed, very disappointed actually, because we were in such a good position. Not just after the first leg, after the first goal we scored. Everything was in our hands, and we just gave it away in the most simple manner. We just gave it to PSG, and that's the most disappointing thing. If he fouled him, I guess it's a red card. I haven't seen the replay. Difficult to say. In these kind of crucial moments, you need to be sure to get the ball. And if you don't get it, you have to stay away. I'd prefer to concede the goal there or give the striker a 1v1, even though he played the ball quite far. So I don't even know if he'd be able to reach the ball. But given the opportunity, maybe let the goalkeeper save us or even concede a goal, because to go down one man and get a red card so early in the game just kills the game. I have to say, I do agree with Gundogan 100% here. I think Araujo definitely takes the wrong decision, it's a lapse of judgment. I think Araujo should have just let Barcola get into the area, have the 1v1. Maybe Ter Stegen could have saved us. Ter Stegen is pretty good on 1v1s. Maybe not. Maybe Barcola would have scored. Either way, that's a better outcome than what happened, because had Barcola scored, we would have been tied 1-1. It would have been back to just like it had started at the beginning of the match with an advantage, 1-goal advantage. It would have been a 4-3 aggregate, and then you at least have a shot to continue fighting for the remainder of the match. But unfortunately, Araujo did make that mistake. It happens. Even the most elite players make mistakes at the most elite moments. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And this is a better outcome to say, okay, we made a mistake. How can we fix it? Right? Let's learn from this. Next time you're confronted with this situation, don't foul him. Let him go through. Or maybe let's prevent the whole situation from happening. Let's see what happened at the beginning of the play. How did we end up in that position? How do we end up with Barcola ahead of Araujo and Araujo having to chase him down to begin with? That's a better thing to do rather than just, it was a red card. Okay, that's it. Nothing we can do. It's impossible. Let's just all go home. Why waste our time? I mean, is that something unreasonable? Does that make me a hater because I want my team to look inward, try to figure out what happened and fix it? I don't know. You tell me. And by the way, it's being reported that most of the locker room did agree with Gundogan's statements. They agreed that, yes, it was a mistake, that a better outcome would have been had Araujo let the player go in, which is pretty interesting because here we have the coach who's supposed to be the leader of the locker room just chucking it to the refs and saying it was their fault, done. But here we have the actual entire locker room saying, no, the ref was right. Let's learn from this mistake. Let's improve. Where it should be the other way around, or at least everybody should be on the same page where everybody should be agreeing how to fix things, not have the leader of the locker room telling you, oh, it was the ref, it was the red card, done. Let's go home. There's nothing to talk about, nothing to think about. But anyways, Ronald Araujo did speak out through his Instagram account. He did make a post to address what happened in yesterday's match. And this is what the Uruguayan defender had to say. Football that gave me so much joy is now hitting me hard. I thank all those who are unconditionally by my side, my teammates who left everything on the field, and the fans who believed in this team until the end. I'm so sorry for not giving you this joy. We'll try this again. Go Barca, now and forever. God is in control. So beautiful message by Ronald Araujo, of course, apologizing to the fans and thanking everybody who supported him, including his teammates who did fight until the last second. It's unfortunate. It was a big mistake. It cost us, but mistakes happen. Hopefully Ronald Araujo will learn from it. Hopefully the whole team will learn from it and not just try to blame it on the referee and move on like nothing happened and like there's nothing we could do about it. Anyways, let's start with the chat section, and then we will talk about the Club World Cup and also the statements of Thierry Henry. How do you like my French? All right, lots of comments in the chat section. I love it. I love it. Curtis says, Laporta has one crucial decision to make, and that's the next manager. This is more important than even buying more players. This will be the deciding factor in Barcelona improving. 100% agree with you. I think we do have a very promising project, especially with all the youngsters, Lamine, Kouarsi, not to mention all the kids in the academy, Noah Mikafaye, Noah Darvic, Margiu, etc. We have a very promising class of youngsters. We have a good core of players on the team. I think we definitely need the right coach to extract the maximum potential out of this team. And this will be very, very crucial because we are at a turning point, right? We are at a turning point where the club is improving financially. We're at a turning point where the club is starting to, get back on its feet as far as the sporting project. So this is the good moment to get a coach in, get that project off its feet, get a takeoff on that project. And that would in turn help Barcelona recover financially because a winning team obviously makes a lot more money than a losing one. Because people want to go to the stadium, people want to watch the TV, people want to buy the merchandise, sponsors want to sign with you when your team is winning, not so much when your team is losing. Klaus says, I will not be happy if Marquez is appointed as the manager of the first team. We will talk about that today, so I'm not going to get ahead of myself. Kimchi says, Madrid were so lucky. I agree. I actually watched that entire match. If you guys don't know, Madrid won against Manchester City. This match was a draw, just like the first one, 1-1. The first one was 3-3, so aggregate was 4-4. It went to penalty kicks, and then apparently they don't practice penalty kicks in England because it was a horrible shootout, and Madrid got through, which is insane because Madrid looked like us, like how we looked yesterday, where they were just all 11 players in their own box, just holding on to dear life, defending with everything they had. And they still went through. I mean, they are seriously the luckiest team. They could play as shitty as possible, and they still get through. So it's unfortunate. I would have liked to see Pep Guardiola in the final again, just because he is our coach. But it happens. The only silver lining out of this is, first, we do have a Clasico on a Saturday, of course. Barcelona had an extra day of rest since we played yesterday. Madrid played today. And since it did go all the way to penalty shootout, that's a big exhaustion for the players. So maybe that's going to be a benefit, an extra day of rest, plus the fact that Madrid are going to be very tired from having played extra halves. Maybe that will help us this weekend. We'll have to see. I guess that's a silver lining. I will say this, though. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago in a podcast. I said if you've never seen the Barcelona Femini, I highly recommend that you watch their matches because they remind you of how Barcelona should actually be playing. Those ladies play the true Barcelona DNA. They play beautiful football, entertaining football. And I said, no matter how bad our team is or how bad the phases we go through, we should never let our standards get lowered because all teams go through bad phases, right? You assemble a good team, they start winning, and eventually that comes to a halt because your players get old, some of them leave, other teams learn how to defend against you. So eventually you will go through a bad phase, right? It's ups and downs, ups and downs. We're going through it right now. Bayern Munich are going through it right now. Real Madrid went through it a couple of seasons ago. All teams go through it. But no matter how bad the phase that we're going through, no matter how low we are, we should never abandon our standards, and we should always aim to play a certain way. And I said, go watch the Barcelona Femini, and that's the way that we should be playing, right? That should be our standards. We could be understanding of the club situation. We could be like, okay, I understand we're going through reconstruction, so we're not going to play that good. But this is what we should aim at, right? Now, the reason I bring this up today, because today I was watching Manchester City versus Real Madrid, and I'm sitting there watching the way Manchester City move the ball, the way they make diagonal passes, the way they make passes to the open space, the way they put the ball in front of their forwards, not behind them, the way they just so smoothly move the ball where it's all just mechanized, automatic movements. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, how the F so many people can seriously, with a serious face, tell me that Xavi is doing a great job with this team? Because that to me is mind-blowing. Because I watch how Manchester City move the ball. I watch the Barcelona Femini, how they move the ball. I watch Girona, right? Because I know people are going to be like, well, Manchester City, they have all the oil money and blah, blah, blah. Fine. Girona with a budget of 60 million euros. 60. We have a budget of 900. They have a budget of 60. I watch how they move the ball, and I'm sitting there like thinking, how can people tell me with a straight face that they're happy with the work that Xavi's doing? That to me is mind-blowing. So again, you can understand that the team is going through a transition. You can say, okay, I understand they can't play that yet. But to actually say, I like what I'm seeing, that's different. Because we should never, ever, ever abandon our standards. And if you've abandoned yours, go watch the Barcelona Femení, go watch Manchester City, go watch Girona, go watch Arsenal, and remember what your standards should be. Because it seems like our standards have dropped very, 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 very low. Where people are telling me that yesterday, the first 30 minutes were amazing. Where our team couldn't keep possession of the ball, couldn't get out of the high press of PSG. We're losing the ball after 2-3 touches, and people are telling me those 30 minutes were impressive. We scored. Someone said we were up by 2 goals. Okay. So, anyways. All right, let's get back to the news because we do have to talk about Thierry Henry. Because yesterday I said the team started out the match in very poor form. Not being able to maintain possession of the ball, not being able to get out of the high press of PSG, not being able to complete a sequence of 2-3 passes. And people said, you're a hater, Mo. Most YouTubers are saying it's not Xavi's fault, right? Because that's the new excuse. It used to be injuries. It used to be always Pedri and Frankie were injured. Now they're back. Then there was the excuse of Ter Stegen. Now he's back. That was the excuse of the referee, but I said, how do you explain the first 30 minutes? So I guess the new excuse is most YouTubers are saying it wasn't Xavi's fault. And this is an added bonus that someone said in the comment section. All TV pundits say that it wasn't Xavi's fault. All right, well, let's look about one of our legends, Thierry Henry, the Club World Cup winner, someone who won, if I'm not mistaken, 2 trebles, one with us and one with Arsenal. But this is what he had to say, because apparently all pundits have said that I'm wrong, and therefore I have to be wrong. Thierry Henry said, you have to be good. You can't make mistakes in the Champions League. If you make mistakes, you will pay the price straight away. That is why it's so hard to win the competition, because you cannot make one mistake. Barcelona deserved to go down to 10 men. That penalty in the first minute was a penalty. But that doesn't mean you have to concede goals. You didn't concede those goals because you were playing with 10 men. It's because you started to panic. You cannot be a champion when you panic. I don't care who you are. You cannot panic in difficult situations. So let me repeat the most important part. You didn't concede these goals because you were playing with 10 men. It's because you started to panic. And I think that's a perfect summary of what happened yesterday. But of course, like I said earlier in this video, it's a lot easier to chuck it to excuses, right? Because excuses, they're easy to come up with. They don't take much work. Hey, it was the referee. Hey, it was a red card. See? Done. Let's go home, guys. Nothing to talk about, right? But it wasn't just the red card. It was the fact that the whole team fell apart. And Xavi was not capable of responding to the situation at hand. Because Xavi said in the press conference, it was a referee, it was a red card, we played with 10, there was nothing we could do. But that's not true. Because as a coach, your job is to find a solution to the current problem, right? Whatever happens in match, you're supposed to react to it. And Xavi did not react. Xavi got himself expelled, and that was it. It wasn't until the 82nd minute that we actually saw some changes in the team structure. And that is where the problem lies. Now, I'm not saying we should have won with 10 men, even though it is possible to win with 10 men when you're up with 2 goals. I'm not saying that's what I wanted. Once I saw the red card, I knew it was over. But at least I wanted to see a tactical response from Xavi. And I didn't see any. Besides getting himself expelled and calling the referee a motherfucker. That's what he said, by the way. And kicking the cushions that were protecting the UEFA cameras. And that's where the problem lies. is that when the team needed its leader, when the team needed someone to calm the players down, when the team needed someone to introduce a tactical response and say, hey, we're down a man, that's okay. This is what we're going to do. We're going to shuffle things around. We're going to make some substitutions. We're going to change positions of players. This is how we're going to react. When the team needed that, that was nowhere to be found. So it's not about that elimination. It's not about that we conceded 4 goals. It's about the fact that Xavi was incapable of responding to the situation at hand. And that's not the first time he's done that. We've seen that time and time again, all throughout the season and all throughout last season. Xavi comes up with a plan at the beginning of the game. If it works, great. If it doesn't, he has no response. He does not know how to react to what's going on the field. He just comes up with a plan before the match and then, let's try it out. Oh, things change. I don't know what to do. Oh, we got someone expelled. I don't know what to do. Oh, we're down on the scoreboard. I don't know what to do. I came up with a plan. That's it. And that's what I'm talking about. But careful, because I'm the hater. Apparently, so is Thierry Henry. He's also a hater. Because how dare he, right? Because these days, you can't criticize anyone. You have to just oblige, be happy with the status quo. Don't demand anything from your club. Don't have high standards, because that just means you're a hater, you're a toxic fan, right? But, accepting your team embarrassing itself, accepting the players and the coach dragging our crest through the mud, accepting the team having low standards, accepting the status quo and not demanding anything, that's being a real fan. It's okay we're embarrassing ourselves. It's okay they're humiliating the club. No. That's being a real fan, guys. Real fandom right there. Well, congratulations on your fandom, guys. I hope you are happy with what you're seeing. Anyways, let's talk about the chat section. And then we will talk about Rafa Marquez and the possible next coach. Let's see. Lots of comments. Asap says, in my opinion, the best transfers this team needs are early mid-20s good players that have potential to show Subimendi, Jonathan David, and wonder kids to develop the upcoming years. Antonio Nusa. We definitely should focus on younger players, but that's not the end of all. You can always bring 1, 2 veterans with experience that can help also. Because also only having young players is also not the solution. You need a balanced team. You need young players who have potential, who have the energy, but maybe lack experience. Then you need the veterans who have that experience, but maybe they don't have, the speed or the stamina of the youngsters, but they bring this experience to the plate, right? Where the youngsters, they bring the stamina, the energy, but not the experience. And then you need players in the middle, right? Your players in their prime, 25, 26, 27, who have both. Who have more experience than the youngsters, maybe not as much as the veterans, but they still have the energy and the stamina of being a younger player. That's usually what you want to aim for. Hamad Yusuf says, hi Mo, sorry I've been missing your live, but I'm back. Well, I'm very happy that you're back, my friend, and I hope to see you more often. Trick Chocolat says, was really praying for Madrid not to blow it so I could feel better about yesterday. Crap week. Oh, to blow it. Sorry. You're praying for Madrid to blow it. Yeah, man. I think they have a pact with the devil where no matter what they do, they somehow always find a way to get through. Anyways, Mbayoroka says, hey, Mo, what do you think the way forward should be all the way from Namibia, Africa? All right. That's awesome. I think you're the first person from Namibia to leave a comment. The way forward is the board needs to act soon. They need to figure out who the next manager will be and sign that next manager and start working on next season's plan. The team still needs some reinforcements, but we think I have a good core of players that we can build upon, but we need to act on the coaches. And I think that the board will act because, after yesterday's disaster, I don't think Laporta will be begging Xavi to stay, but continuing with Xavi is not the right answer. And I said this many times before. People ask me, what if we win the Champions League? I said, even if we win the Champions League, I would still want another coach because I just don't see a project under Xavi. I just don't. I really, really don't. I don't see any kind of system of play. I don't see any kind of identity. I don't see anything. I just see 11 players winging it. And that also creates some unfair criticism. Like a lot of people were blaming Gundogan yesterday. A lot of people were blaming Frankie, Pedri. But here's the thing. When you don't have a system to move the ball around, what do you expect your midfielders to do? And when I say a system to move the ball around, I explained this before, tiki-taka, and I'm not saying this is what the team should play, but for example, tiki-taka did not happen out of nowhere. This is something that Pep Guardiola trained his players, right? He would draw on a map on a board and say, look, when you have the ball, this player is going to run here, this player is going to run there, this player is going to run there. So everybody knew what to do with and without the ball. So when your midfielder would have the ball, everyone else knew where to run and how to get open. So that midfielder would have options on where to pass the ball. We don't have that. We don't have any of that. So when Frankie has the ball, when Pedri has the ball, when Gundo has the ball, there's nobody open. Nobody's running to get open. Nobody's moving. So they just have to look around. What do I do? What do I do? There's nothing to do. Okay, I'm just going to pass it back. I'm just going to pass it to the guy next to me. And that's strictly on Xavi. It's Xavi who's supposed to develop those mechanisms, those automatic passes. The way teams move the ball really fast, teams like Manchester City, it does not happen by accident. They train that. They train that over and over again until it becomes muscle memory. When Rodri gets the ball, he knows exactly where all his teammates are without even looking, because they had already planned it. They had already drawn it on a board and then went out to practice it over and over again. So when Rodri has the ball, he exactly knows where all his teammates are. So when he gets the ball, he can immediately pass it. He doesn't even have to look. He doesn't even have to lift his head. He knows where his teammates are because they've practiced that. They've come up with that. We don't have that in Barcelona. We don't have any of that. So what happens is when Frankie, Pedri, Gundo, whoever gets the ball, they have to look up. Okay, where is everybody? I don't see anyone open. And by then it's too late. Spaces have closed. Whoever was open already has a mark on them. So what do? I have to pass it back. I have to pass it sideways because we don't have that system. And 3 seasons later, we still don't have any signs of a system being developed by Xavi. So the way forward is we need a new coach, someone who actually can implement a system of play, an identity where these players know what to do instead of just freestyling it the whole time, because freestyling it works sometimes, but it does not work all 90 minutes. Anyways, let's get back to the news, because there is news starting with, before we talk about coaches, in this, that Barcelona are now officially out of the Club World Cup, the new format of the Club World Cup, which will take place in 2025. And with that, Barcelona will miss out on 50 million euros, which they would have received had they qualified to the Club World Cup. That's not including all the bonuses from winning matches, bonuses from qualifying to different stages. Lots of money. Unfortunate, but with yesterday's elimination, will not be getting that 50 million euros. Not just that, an opportunity to play the first edition of a Club World Cup that will include 32 clubs from all around the world. Something that's going to be I'm guessing is going to be highly watched because there's more people who are fans of clubs than there are people fans of national teams. So having 32 clubs in the Club World Cup, a real Club World Cup for the first time, I think is definitely going to hurt us on the marketing side, even fans, because tournaments like this are a good opportunity to capture new fans. And you might think, well, why do we need new fans? This is Barcelona. Fans are clients at the end of the day. You have to look at it from the business perspective. Barcelona is a business. They sell a product, which is football, and fans are nothing but clients, right? They're buying that product by going to the stadium and buying tickets, by watching the TV, and Barcelona getting TV rights money, by buying merchandise. And to not be able to go to a competition like this is definitely a chance wasted to capture more fans, which are, in essence, clients, plus the 50 million euros that we won't get just for participating, plus all the money we could have made from bonuses. But that's not all. Of course, we will miss out on the 12.5 million euros that Barcelona would have made had they qualified to the semifinals from UEFA. So that's at least 62.5 million euros that Barcelona will miss out with yesterday's elimination. But now let's talk about what you guys are all waiting for, which is that Rafa Marquez is currently gaining ground in the race to replace Xavi. Now, after yesterday's result, it's looking more and more likely that Barcelona will not try to convince Xavi to stay, that he will end up leaving at the end of the season. And even if Laporta decides to convince him, I don't see Xavi staying. He had already made up his mind with this elimination. It's definitely gonna, in my opinion, reinforce his decision to do so. I just realized I had that comment up. But so now the question is, who will be the next manager? And it seems that Rafa Marquez is gaining ground in the race. Now, initially, Barcelona did not want to consider Marquez at all because he made those statements as soon as Xavi announced his resignation, where he said that he would love to be the first team coach. That didn't sit well in the board of directors. They kind of thought they was opportunist, that it wasn't really the right time to make such statements. But then, because he has been doing great with Barca Athletic, because he has been doing great mentoring the youngsters, he kind of became an option again. But he was an option B, kind of like a last resort option where if nothing else works out, Rafa Marquez could be it. But after yesterday's defeat, now Rafa Marquez has gained even more ground. He's gone from no option at all to option B to now being actually considered for the first team position. Now you ask, why has he gained ground? Well, as I said, because he's doing really, really well with Barca Athletic, and B, because a lot of people within the club think that Rafa Marquez is very knowledgeable of the academy. Him being a Barca Athletic coach, he's gotten to know all the youngsters, not just in Barca Athletic, but in Juvenil A, Juvenil B, Cadete, etc. So they know he's very knowledgeable of the players in the academy, and they believe because of that, he would be able to continue giving youngsters an opportunity, something that Xavi has done a really good job at. He's given opportunity to players like Kouassi, Fort, Lamine Yamal, Marguiu, etc. So they think if Rafa Marquez becomes the coach, he could continue building on that and continue giving other players from the academy the opportunity in the first team, because who knows them best than Rafa Marquez, who has been working with them for this entire time. So this is why Rafa Marquez is gaining ground, because a lot of people in the club believe that he's doing a good job at Barca Athletic and he can continue giving youngsters an opportunity, because Barcelona won the bet on La Masia for the next few seasons. However, that is not final. A decision has not been made, and Laporta is still a big fan of Hansi Flick and a German route. Now, Laporta does appreciate what Rafa Marquez is doing with Barca Athletic. He does agree that Rafa Marquez would know best on who to promote and not promote because of his position as Barca Athletic coach. However, Jean Laporta believes that Barcelona need to become competitive in the Champions League and on the European stage, and he thinks that the right man for that is Hansi Flick over Rafa Marquez. And in fact, that's the reason why Barcelona have ruled out so many options like De Zerbi, options like Mitchell, options like Imanol, because Laporta wants someone who can take Barcelona to the European stage or make them more competitive on the European stage. And he believes that Flick will be better positioned than Rafa Marquez to do that. Now, Hansi Flick has done everything in his power to become next manager. He's been taking Spanish lessons. He has agreed to all the terms of Barcelona. He has even traveled and sat down with Pep Guardiola to discuss tactics and how to train Barcelona. He's been watching tapes of the first team to try to analyze what needs improvement. And he's even been watching tapes of the academy because he also wants to know what players are there. So he has done his part, and now he's just awaiting a call. Now, it's reported that the next few weeks, the board of directors and the Barcelona board will be meeting to discuss the next manager. And during these discussions is that Barcelona will make a decision on who to go with again, the split being some people thinking it's Rafa Marquez because he can continue betting on the youngsters, and with Laporta and other people believing that Hansi Flick will be the right coach to take us the next step, to make us competitive in the European market. Now, I personally agree with John Laporta. I think it's too early for Rafa Marquez. Yes, he's doing a great job as a Barca Athletic coach. Yes, he's doing a great job mentoring the youth, but I don't think he's ready yet. And why curtail his growth? Why do that? Who knows? Maybe he could be the next Pep. And if you bring him too early, he ends up sucking, and everybody's going to want him out, and we're going to end up firing him, and now you just missed an opportunity. I'm not saying that he will be the next Pep. Don't, tomorrow people are going to be like, Mo said Rafa Marquez is the next Pep. No, I'm saying, what if he could be, right? Let's not curtail his growth, right? Let him continue growing. Let him continue learning. Let him continue developing. And down the road, if we see that he has what it takes, then promote him. But don't curtail the guy's growth. I think Hansi Flick would be a better option in my opinion, but I'm curious to hear what you guys' opinion is. Okay, let's see. Mo says, Mo, we need an actual pivot, a left winger and a big game manager taking Yamal off. What the actual F? I agree with you, my friend. Let's see. SS says, check this argument. I'm afraid we won't have the patience or mercy for Flick, for Klopp, easily. I mean, based on what? Right? Why would we be more patient with Flick, but not, with Klopp, but not Flick? And King City FX says, the problem was Araujo shouldn't be the central CB. The red card was bad pass from Araujo. He should be a CB because he's one of our best CBs. He just happened to make a mistake. But Araujo makes very few mistakes, and just because he made a mistake, we shouldn't just punish him. Anyways. All right, let's see what else. Felix says, it's an organization. Not everybody in a large body organization agrees that is impossible. Exactly, 100%, my friend. And remember, it's not just the board of directors. There's also directors. And there's a lot more directors than there are board of directors, if that makes sense. So, yeah, of course, there's going to be, disagreements. We'll see what comes out of this. Delwani says, on the bright side of it, the team is young. On losing the match the way they did should be a lesson learned. I agree 100% with you. I think the most important thing is to learn from it versus just chucking it to, it was a ref, done, let's go home, nothing to talk about. Or, it was a red card, there's nothing we could do with 10 men. No, the important thing is to learn from this, to make sure it doesn't happen again. Or if it does happen again, to know how to react to it. That's what the right thing to do. But apparently that makes me a hater because I want my team to improve and learn from their mistakes. Right? Big Dave says, at this point, I'd take Rafa Marquez for a season, get the club back into good financial position, and take Klopp. I've seen this suggestion a lot, whether it's keep Xavi for a season and then get Klopp, or Rafa, then get Klopp. The thing is, we're just assuming that Klopp would even want to come here. How do we know that? Are you willing to throw an entire season away? And then Klopp says, okay, I'm back from my vacation, but guess what? I'm not really interested in coaching Barcelona, or I'm not really interested in coaching La Liga. I just want to stay in the Premier, or maybe he wants to go back home and coach in the Bundesliga, right? We cannot take that risk. We cannot just throw a whole season away thinking that a guy wants to come when we don't even know if he wants to come. Goji says, come on, Mo, you need players to move the ball that way. Don't tell me our players are so skillful. We all know that Araujo, Ferran, Alonso, Lewa can't play double pass their own life online. What about the rest of the players? What about Pedri? What about Gabi? What about Frankie? What about Gundogan? What about Lamine? What about Kouarsi? What about Cancelo? What about Koundé? What about Christensen? I mean, sure, you can look at the few players that can't do that. But how about we look at the majority of the team that can do that, that can pass the ball? Like I said, excuses, we can find a million. That's so easy to do. But I'd rather look inward and figure out what the actual problem is and come up with a solution rather than come up with an excuse. If all these Xavi apologists that have constantly attacking me since I started criticizing Xavi back in November spend as much energy on trying to figure out what's going on with the team versus spending all their energy on coming up with excuses, pretty sure someone somewhere would have already figured out what the solution is, and we could have wrote a letter all together and just sent it to Barcelona. Be like, look, this is what the team needs. But they choose to spend their energy on excuses more. Because again, it's the easiest thing, right? It's a lot easier to come up with an excuse than they come up with a solution. Sean says, hey, Mo, I was told the same thing. Tell me that was dominated until the red, but we had no control of the game when it was 11 versus 11, and it got worse when it was 10 versus 11. I agree 100% with you. We had zero control of the game for the first 30 minutes up until the red card. Actually, when the match started, I was watching. I was already worried. I was like, crap. It's only a 1-goal difference. We have zero control of this match. This is not looking good. And then Rafinha's goal came. And I was like, okay, maybe we have a shot. We're up 2. But I was still not feeling at ease whatsoever. And, I think we could have still gotten eliminated, even with Araujo on the field, just based on the first 30 minutes that I saw, which is the same what we've been seeing the whole season. This was not the first match that we messed up. No, this is a serious long series of mess ups. Almeria, Villarreal, Granada, Getafe, Shakhtar. It's called Royal Antwerp. Real Sociedad, we beat them, but we were horrible. Las Palmas, the first time around, we had to depend on a last-minute penalty to beat. I mean, the list is endless. Real Madrid during the Spanish Super Cup final. Even Osasuna, we beat them, yeah, but barely. We have a long list of bad matches. And the first 30 minutes of yesterday were exactly a repeat of all of those matches. But it was the red card, guys. It was the red card. The red card had a retroactive effect where it affected the entire season. It went back. It had magical power. It just went back and just affected all of our performances. But people would say, no, it's because Ter Stegen was injured. Well, guess what? Ter Stegen wasn't injured yesterday. We've also had pretty bad matches at the beginning of the season with Ter Stegen. Well, it's because Pedri and Frankie were injured. Guess what? Pedri and Frankie were back yesterday. Oh, it's Gabi and Balde. Guess what? We had some pretty awful matches when Gabi and Balde were also healthy. Oh, it's because Xavi didn't get his signings. We spent 300 million on 22 signings since Xavi arrived. Like I said, excuses, we can find 1 million. I'd rather find a solution than find excuses. Trick Chocolate says we could say woulda, coulda, shoulda till the end of the season. Time to embrace the suck and look at the future. I agree with you, my friend. By the way, I do MMA, and part of my MMA program is jiu-jitsu. And that's what my coach is always yelling at us. Embrace the suck. When you're getting your ass beat. Embrace the suck. He always says that. So you just reminded me of it. Which, by the way, I do have to go training a little bit. Vaughn says the problem is not the talent, it is the experience. The young players, and as a coach, Xavi don't have experience. Also, the lone players didn't step up. The lone players need to be returned and not look back again. Both Cancelo and Felix. All right. Oh, my God. That's a lot of comments. Anyways, we're already at 42 minutes. Maybe we'll do a few more. Let's see. KF says, I hope we can get a good coach for the next season, and I don't understand why we bought Vitor. I would have put him in the game. We need a coach who isn't afraid to take action against bad performance. I don't know if yesterday was the right time for Vitor Roque. Bringing on a player before he is ready or he's adapted, it's not the right, especially in the quarterfinal of a Champions League. I think it's better to protect him. I'd rather for Roque to continue the rest of the season adapting and then use him next season under a better coach. Because here's the thing, if we start using Vitor, he's going to get the brunt of the team's bad performance, and he's going to be blamed for a lot of it. And people are going to start saying, oh, Vitor Roque sucks. We wasted our money on him. So I'd rather him, develop more. Anyways, that is all for today. Thank you guys for tuning in, for your comments, your likes, your subscriptions. You guys are absolutely amazing. I will see you tomorrow. There's no more news videos for today. It's a slow day, of course. Barcelona still recovering like all of us from yesterday's match. So this is it for tonight. I will see you tomorrow. Have a good day, good night, wherever you are in the world. And as always, Visca Barça.